In this video I will go over all of the brushes in Procreate 5.4 beta. You can watch part 1 and part 2 of this series on my YouTube channel. The links are in the description. The brushes are made by Webster. In this video I will cover the brush sets Gouache, Paints and Watercolors. Because this is still in beta, the brushes may change. I'm testing this on an iPad Pro 12.9 inch with the standard Apple Pencil, so I cannot show you the hover function and the barrel roll function. In this review I'm first going to show the brushes in the brush sets and then paint something with it. I take the name of the first brush in the brush set and then paint it. So I'm going to go over the brush set Gouache, and it starts out with bottlenose. Just going to make the brush as large as possible, and there's a nice structure to it, and when you tilt your pencil it becomes smoother. Now I got a question about the new brush engine, if you can mix the colors better on the canvas, and it all depends on what kind of brush you're using, because when you go into detail, when you tap on the brush, you see that it is a dual brush, and it also depends on the shape of the brush, if it mixes better, and also on the wet mix, and if it has dilution and pull, then the brush will mix better on your canvas. Just gonna get some reds, and this one doesn't really mix better. Maybe when you tilt your Apple Pencil. But you know, maybe with the oils it will mix better, and with the watercolors we'll just find out when I will review the watercolor brush set. Just going to clear this, go to the next brush, Penzance. Just using the tilt, and you know, when you use it fully. Also made an illustration with it, with the gouache brushes, because now you're just testing it, and it's always a better way, you know, to do some art with it, so that you can find out how these brushes work. And this has some nice texture to it. It all depends on if you're using the tilt, then there is more of a structure in the brush, and when you use it straight up, your Apple Pencil, then you get a lot more paint. The next brush is Baronia, and it is a tapered brush. There's more dilution to it, and it's a little bit transparent. So maybe with this you can mix the colors better. It's a bit scattered when you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil, and when you use it upright you get more paint. I think all of these brushes are made like this to have it more consistent. Go to chocolate, maybe another color. It's also a tapered brush. Just use it. And this pulls and has a lot of dilution, but also a structure to the brush. This tends a little bit more to a watercolor brush, or if you use more water with your gouache, if you do it on paper. The next brush is the Night Heron. This has some edges and interesting structure. Just use another color, see what happens. And it has a little bit of the edges when you're doing watercolors. So it has more paint to the sides of the brush, which is interesting. And it's got a lot of dilution. And it's a bit transparent. And when you tilt your Apple Pencil, it's more transparent. Then you use it upright, then you get a lot more paint. The next is Gatsby. This brush has a little bit more structure to the edges. Try to mix it with another color. So they all have the same structure, more or less. When you use your Apple Pencil upright, it gives more paint. When you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil, it becomes a little bit more transparent. The next brush is the Pixie Parasol. It's also a tapered brush, but with a more calligraphic brush tip. And it's a bit of a streaky brush. I like this one a lot because you can mix with it. And when you press harder, you get more paint. And the last brush in this gouache brush set is the Loyatia, or Loyalty. And this is a nice structured brush. When you tilt your pencil, your Apple Pencil, you get more structure. And of course, gouache is a more opaque kind of paint. And this is more of a dry brush with less paint. and that you get some structure in your paintings. I like this one a lot. I made a painting with the Gouache brush set using the first named brush as a subject. The first brush is called Bottlenose. The bottlenose is a dolphin that swims around the coasts of Tasmania. I tried out all of the brushes in this brush set. I like the brushes Night Heron and Loyalty a lot, because with these brushes you can add more structure to your painting. Now we're going to the Watercolors brush set, which has 8 brushes. When you use the tilt, it comes a little bit bigger, and it's a scattered brush. You already can see that it's rotating. When you press really hard, it has a lot of dilution. And you have these nice edges, which you most of the time like to avoid when you're doing watercolors on paper. Let's make it bigger. And it has some paper structure to it. And when you use the tilt, you can, fade it out. And you can play around with the tilt of your Apple Pencil, to get more paint. And if you want to have less paint and dilute your paints more, then you tilt your Apple Pencil. The next brush is called Penguin. Also has a paper structure to it, and also the sharp edges. This really resembles a watercolor brush. Let's do a stem, see what happens. And this brush builds up, and when you zoom in you can really see the structure of the watercolor paper. It's not really tapered, or it's a very fat taper. The next brush is called Cascade. And as you can already see, it is a flat brush. With a nice structure. And when you have the newer Apple Pencil and the barrel roll, you probably can adjust the size of the brush, or the angle of the brush. Next brush is called Gouache Brook. a very fine tapered brush. And also tap it, and has a lot of dilution to it, especially when you tilt your Apple Pencil. I think this has fully dilution to it, so you can mix these colors, and it also pulls the color from the canvas. So this is a great brush if you want to do a sky, or make a gradual sky. So this is a very nice brush. The next is called Philosopher Falls, probably a place in Tasmania. And this has a different point with a lot of structure in it. Let's try to mix the colors with yellow and blue. Let me see if I can get green. Well, not really. Next brush is Bridgewater. It's got that, really watercolor effect when you apply water first on your canvas, when you do it on paper, and then drop in the paint, and you get a structure like this. So looks quite natural. Next brush is Line Rock. Let's use another color. This one has a different shape, and you can build up your colors because it has a nice structure to it. You paint over it again, you can build up your colors gradually. And the last brush in the watercolors brush set is Pacific Golden. It's a blocky brush with no extreme edges. Let's use another color, something darker. Also has a paper structure to it. I think you can do a lot of great watercolor-like paintings with this brush set. I really like it, the same as I did with the oils, and you can find the review of the oil paints in another video. I'll leave a link in the description, because I'm going to review all of the new brushes in Procreate 5.4 beta. And this is a very nice addition, because the classic brushes will still be in Procreate because you have different libraries. So when you pinch it, then you can add different libraries to it. And this is the classic library, so you still have all of the old brushes plus the new brushes made by Webster. I used all of the watercolor brushes to paint these tansy flowers that grow in Tasmania. This brush set has some nice natural brushes with a lot of dilution. Some of them have harder edges, mimicking the real watercolor brushes. The default watercolor brushes were not that great in Procreate, so this brush set is a nice addition. And the last brush set I'm going to discuss in this video is Paints, and it starts out with Peacock. Interesting brush. It's a very dry brush when you use your tilt of your Apple Pencil, and you get more paint when you use it upright. The next brush is called Makepeace. There's a nice structure to it with some edges. Make it bigger. It's got a nice structure to it as well. And it's quite transparent, especially when you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil. It also pulls the paint from your canvas. The next brush is called Elena. It's got a nice structure to it. Just try the smudge. The next brush is called Valia. That's a tapered brush. And when you use the tilt, it becomes more transparent. The same as the gouache brushes and the watercolor brushes. The next brush is called the Lilydale. This is a round brush. Also with some tapered effect. And it draws on top of a shape you've done before. Let me see. So it's got some dilution to it as well, especially when you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil. The next brush is called She Oak, which has a lot of dilution to it. And this is more of a mixer brush, I think. Yeah. Because it pulls the paint you've done before on your canvas. So this is a nice mixer brush. The next brush is called Abalone, also with a lot of dilution. And when you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil, it becomes more scattered. This has a nice structure to it, you know, and you can mix the colors a little bit better. Also has a taper to it. And when you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil, it becomes more scattered. So you can, you know, play around with the tilt of your Apple Pencil. It also pulls the color from the canvas. This is a very nice brush. And the last brush is called Piermont. So with all of these brushes, you know, when you use the Apple Pencil upright, it gives more paint. When you use the tilt of your Apple Pencil, you can smear the paint and it becomes more transparent with less paint. And this one also has a lot of dilution to it. With this brush set I also made an illustration of a little spider. I painted this peacock spider with the Paints brush set. The first brush is called Peacock. I hope you enjoyed this review of the new brushes in Procreate 5.4. In the next video I will cover the next 3 brush sets: markers, lettering and design. So stay tuned. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, because each time I upload a new video, you get a notification. Drawing is fun and practice makes perfect. See you next time. Doodles!